Yo, yo, yo. What's going on, everybody? It's been a minute since we've been back. We took the last couple weeks off, but here we are again. All Pucked Up, brought to you by mygaragebar.com and, of course, Disruption Network. And as you're going to probably notice today, we have a few less participants, we'll call them, in our conversation.
The important ones are here.
Oh, see, yeah. And
I don't want to show up. I get to mock you. That's how it works.
Okay, all right. And it's going to be such a special show. I even wore my Superman shirt. Actually, that just means I was lazy and rolled out of bed. So let's bring you right in here, my man. There he is, Mr. Chris Mazzotti. And, like I said, it's been a couple weeks now, right?
Well, when last we were here, Boston was still alive.
When last we were here. Yeah.
So it's been a couple weeks. Of course, Labor Day throws everything out of whack.
Right.
But yeah, those Bruins, every time I count on them, every time I'm rooting for them, they take a dump on me, and I'm just tired of it. So I can't take it anymore, Boston. Every time. Rooted for you in the Cup last year.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you do?
The thing I felt bad about is actually we went to the Labor Day party over at Gus's house, and this is coming on the heels of the Flyers getting bounced, and I see that Gus is actually sharing our link. So Gus, we feel for you, man. I mean, it is a Flyer, so not too much.
We'll get to them, but yeah, it's been quite a playoff. I've been watching it. I really enjoy it.
Yeah,
I really am enjoying one game a night now that we're up to the conference final.
That is nice.
I was getting a little tired staying up till 1:30 every night for that last game. But, man, that Canucks and Vegas series was so thrilling.
Actually, the last couple of series I thought have been very thrilling.
Yeah.
The Isles Flyers was amazing.
Yeah.
Let's go to overtime one more time. It's like, oh, man, can we get any better here? But, yeah, so let's think. When last we met, we were back with the Bruins series, as you said. And, so that kind of the Bruins, who were a heavy favorite.
I mean,
see ya.
they're the President's Trophy winner.
Yeah, well, you don't want that. We've established this time and time again. You don't want that
it's
damn
not
trophy.
Necessarily true. I know Scott says that,
but like I'm trying to think how many President's Trophy winners have actually gone on to win the Cup recently.
Not many.
Yeah, there you go.
Not many. But it's not like, a curse. I don't buy into that or anything like that.
It's not the Madden curse?
It's not the Madden curse, which is real.
Yeah.
It's really not. I just think, I think Boston never got up for anything. You know what I mean? I think they came into Carolina and they were just like, okay, well, we got to bounce back from our miserable round robin, and pick it up. They did enough to beat Carolina, and then they can't beat Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, looks good. They're fast.
Yeah.
Of course, they got, half the Rangers' D-core back there,
I knew
along
you would
with
say
Victor Hedman. So, that helps them. And I can't stand them. I hate them. If there's a team that I really wish would just go away. I don't want to wish you death or anything because that's a little harsh. We're just talking about a game here. But Kevin Shattenkirk.
Go away.
Please. And I wish Scott was here because he's their financials guy. I really wanted to see if for some reason Tampa wins the Cup and Kevin Shattenkirk retires, do the Rangers have to pay him the $6.5 million next year? I think they do.
Let me try.
And
to
I don't know why
up.
he would retire if he wasn't getting that money.
Let me see. I'm going to try to bring up our video here, and the sound is probably going to blare out, so I'm going to mute that right away. No. Okay. So, and I think I can see the live comments. Sometimes I can do it. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I'm just not good enough to do it. I don't know. But if anybody wants to comment in today, I think I've got the screen up. We'll see what happens. And if Scott's out there, because I know he said he might catch it from afar. Let us know. Let us know the particulars of that.
Yeah,
man.
I'm not sure what happens with that because it's the whole cap recapture thing where I think it might have to be paid out anyway, or might count against the cap regardless. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but
if anybody's out there and can comment, just type something. I don't care if you're just saying hi, just so I can see if I got the right thing up here. That's me, right?
So Boston they went to overtime in the last game, and I was pulling for him. Really, I mean, they had chances too. Like
They did. They absolutely did.
I mean, and that's the problem when you have one line team. And I don't know what happened. Pasternak wasn't so great. A lot of these Bruins, I can't really pick on Pasta. Bergeron wasn't as great.
Yeah.
Marchand was trying his best, but
he had moments, I think, but
I think everything. When those guys dry up,
that's
all
the
of a
team.
sudden that's it.
Yeah.
So.
By comparison, I got to say, watching the Islanders, who've been rolling out line after line after line, I mean, that's, who's been the most surprising to you right now?
The most surprising to me is really Dallas.
Okay, I can see that a mile away.
Dallas.
Absolutely.
How the teams left, and like I said, I had a thing where I picked Dallas to win.
You had a bracket.
I had a bracket to pick Dallas to win. It was in the Dallas Stars official bracket that you get I think you get a Sagan jersey if you win it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you win that one, you get a Sagan on top of the NHL deal or whatever.
Yeah,
particular bracket, the prize is an autographed Sagan jersey.
Oh, that's nice.
So I was like, I love the Dallas jersey.
Yeah,
it's been one of my favorite jerseys since it was a Minnesota North Star jersey.
Just don't like the team.
I don't mind them.
Okay.
They're not my conference, so
right.
it's the Rangers play them twice a year.
I think that's one of the things that's been hardest. If there is anything hard about this watching the playoffs now, it's watching Vegas and Dallas, and I'm like, wow, I don't usually catch a lot of their games just because they're not in our immediate market, But yeah, I mean, fast. That's a fast series, man.
Yeah,
they've been moving, and it's a hard hitting series too.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. Were you going to jump all around?
Yeah, no. So okay, so we were talking about that Boston series.
Well, I mean that's it for Boston.
Yeah, okay.
Unfortunately, I think that's it. They got to retool or something. Chara, let's give props to Chara. It might have been his last game in a Bruins uniform.
Sure.
Don't think it's going to be his last game.
No.
And I don't really mind. I mean, for how old that guy is, he still is better than at least 40% of the defenders in the league.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, he's better than Jack Johnson, right?
I'm better than Jack Johnson.
So that's what I'm saying. When Pittsburgh put in $1 million deal for him, hey, back up. I even thought, hey, I know the Rangers are strapped right now, but if he wanted to take a minimum contract for a year, put him in there. Let him be a mentor to these kids.
No doubt about it. Yeah, just roll him out.
I would love it. It would be fine with me.
I think you're right.
I know he's a cone out there half the time,
yeah.
but at least he's usually back in time. Although we saw a couple times in this Tampa series, he was way too slow.
Yeah.
Guys went right by him.
Well, how old is he? He's
43.
40, yeah, okay. I was going to say 42 at 43. Good Lord.
He's up there. So
props for even being out there, really. So
think about how long he's been playing. All the teams he's played with, and had lengthy terms with.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh yeah, he's been playing a long time.
It's amazing to me to see him out there. But just such a gigantic player to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, and just having that body out there.
If you just had him for power plays, it would be worth the contract, right?
For a minimum contract.
Yeah, seventh defenseman. I mean, he's not going to get millions and millions. I mean, his contract's not even that big now. No. So,
I think you're right. They have to do a little bit of retooling in Boston and try to get themselves. I think there's a lot of issues that need to come up. For goaltending, what is? I remember you and I were talking about this, and it was you and I that were having the conversation
about Rask.
Yeah. So what was ultimately the problem with Rask?
Something happened to his daughter, man.
Is that what it was? Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
They're being a little vague about it. He gave an interview.
Yeah.
Like I said, we brought this up a bunch of times now. I don't want to rehash it, but basically, he left. They lied and said he's fine. Don't know why they lied. No reason for it. Everybody completely understands when there's a health situation with your family.
Yeah, just go.
Which they said the team understands. This kind of had a figure, but of course, his daughter doesn't play for the team and HIPAA laws and whatever, privacy. I get it. So He had to go. That's fine. Was it Halak's fault they lost? Absolutely not.
No, not at all.
I mean, would they have gotten spanked if Tuukka was in there? Probably. It's likely. I mean, even if they won that game 5, what are you going to extend it? I mean, although you say that, and everybody else in that round got to 7 games, and they were all down 3-1.
Yeah.
That's the really amazing thing, And the other series that was kind of similar in style, I thought, was as like the beatdown was the Dallas-Colorado series on the other side.
Shocking to me.
I did not have Dallas beating Colorado at that juncture.
I think a lot of people had Colorado going, man. Yeah.
I had Dallas beating Colorado in the conference final.
Okay.
Thinking they would need the confidence booster from the divisional round to beat them in the conference round. Mm-hmm. But apparently they didn't, because they took a commanding lead on that series, and even when it was 3-2 and then 3-3, I had a real good feeling going into that Game 7. It's so hard to beat a team 3 times in a row.
Absolutely is.
It's just very difficult. Even if you come back, especially if you're not like dominating, which I think Dallas fell asleep for one of those games. I think had a 8-2 or something.
Yeah, there was
crazy.
one. I don't remember what
There's
the score was.
one McKinnon. They
there.
all went off. They're like, oh. You think the Avalanche can't score? We're going to show you something tonight.
Yes.
Yeah. and good on Colorado. They needed, they need to show that, because otherwise management's going to go, what are we doing here?
Why are we paying you guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and Colorado, sad to say, they hit the injury bug at the one position you don't want the injury bug on, and that's goaltender. Was Michael Hutchinson going to win them a cup?
No.
Right? So, their defense, a little shaky, So, granted, they got a good future with McCarr back there and whatnot, but they still have a little more work to go.
Yeah, I feel Colorado's been knocking on the door for
a while. They have
a
great head start. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And if you even think about, Colorado's one of these teams, they take a 2 steps forward and another step back, Yeah. They start getting personnel, lose their coach, stuff like that. So I think they'll get it worked out in the next season or 2 here in Colorado.
I wish I had something around me that I could look this up. Do you know what McKinnon's contract is right now? Is he's there for? He's there for the haul.
No, he's there. I could pull it up.
Yeah.
But
I know he's there for a while, so they can always build around him.
He's not going. They're going to be fine. They're not in cap trouble or anything like that. So, and they got guys coming off their books too. They're a very fluid team.
Yeah. Except
for that top line, those guys that are locked in. They're pretty good. Last I remember. But hey, Colorado, unfortunately, and Dallas, good on them, because Dallas played. I actually watched a bunch of Dallas games this year because they were. I had the ESPN Plus package that kept just fishing me a game here or two,
right?
Just randomly. I don't know what game it's going to be, and it seemed like the Stars were a lot of those, at least a lot that I like. And like I said, I love their jersey. I'm not gonna. I like watching the green jerseys go around the ice.
Yeah.
So I will stop and watch a Dallas game simply for the fact it looks nice.
Sure.
And they're good, and I like both their goaltenders and things like that have, appealed to me. But the nice thing about watching Dallas games, by the way, since they're a West Conference team, is their games usually only start at 8 or 8:30.
Yeah, you're not sitting up to 1 in the morning.
You don't have to stay up to 1 in the morning to watch their game, which is also good. For us East Coasters, but
I'm talking to you, Calgary.
Yeah, those games are hard to watch.
They are.
Calgary, you're staying up to 1.
Third period, you're like, oh wow,
yeah,
this game's gonna end pretty soon.
It's like, can we blow this out in a second? I got to get to sleep.
Yeah.
So Colorado.
We should probably talk about
Goodbye.
Vegas too. Vegas, your boys, which I think you were kind of rooting for, Vancouver. So what happened? I know you've got some.
Let's skip it.
You want to come back to that?
Come back.
Okay.
We'll come back
all right.
to it because that's the one I want to hit the most.
All right.
Come back over to the East.
Okay.
Jump back, and we'll talk about this Flyers Islanders series.
Okay. All right.
All right. Again, Islanders jump out to commanding lead. And if you recall the last time we were here, I said, I think this is going to be a brutal battle, but I had a feeling wasn't going to last more than 5.
I do remember you saying that, yes.
This close to that being correct.
Actually, when that series first got going, I went, damn, Mazzotti's like spot on in this. And then all of a sudden, like.
But they were just overtimes.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So game 5, if Islanders score on the breakaway they had, which, I mean, give the goaltender some credit and everything. But, man, like, you get a breakaway in overtime, guys. You got to bury that. Like, you can't just, like, tough it off the guy's pad because you couldn't get the puck up. Like, or miss the net. I saw some of those this week. Overtime, you get a breakaway and you miss the net.
That's some very embarrassing moments.
Oh, it's terrible. And they're showing the guy, I forgot what game it was the other night. He had a breakaway and he's trying to settle the puck the whole time. And just as it settles, he takes a shot. And it's like, too off the pad, wide of the net.
Of course.
And it's like, they're like, it's embarrassing, but, the puck just wouldn't settle and whatnot. But so the Islanders, they got goaltending issues for sure.
Okay.
Because they don't have a top guy.
No.
And as good as Varlamov was in the early series, it's now looking like now the Capitals are going, this is why we got rid of him. Like, because he's a first round guy and that's it or something.
You're not a fan of Grice?
Grice, in my head anyway, I don't know if this is necessarily true, and I'm sure Islanders fans can chime in if they want.
Yeah.
He's still an unproven commodity to me. Some nights he looks great. Mm-hmm. Islanders found a great goaltender. Other nights it's like, Grice, what are you doing? Like, you can't just... Like the first goal the other night, he's like they come in, swoop right in, Tampa does. And it's like, you can't put your stick out in front. That guy wants to cut across the front of my crease. He's going to be doing it Bobby Orr style. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way
Sailing.
Yeah, you're allowed to poke check.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing otherwise with your stick? Like, the guy's going around you. You know what I mean? Like, you got to make some attempt to stick him. At least if it goes in, make him pay for it. So I don't know what they're going to do there. The Flyers, man. Can AV make another bad challenge? Holy cow. He has got to be the worst coach at using the coach's challenge.
Yeah. I know someone maybe possibly worse in Pittsburgh, but hey, okay. I
mean, if you looked at some of those, it's like, what is he doing? I'm texting with my buddy who's a Flyers fan. He's like, I can't even watch this stuff. He lives in South Jersey, and I go, I don't know what he's looking at. Like, have you not looked at any of the reviews all year, AV? You think they're going to call that back for goaltender interference? Your own man crushes the guy, like... If you're a guy, it doesn't matter. Like, doesn't matter. You could have a guy sitting on top of the goalie. If your own defender even nudged that guy on top of that goalie, even if the guy just, throws it in, oh, I got hit, and I fall on top of, in this case, it's Carter Hart.
Yeah.
They're not going to call goaltender interference for that. The other flip side of that is, like, you had an overturn last night in the Vegas conference final, whereas Pacioretty hits the guy's skate. Nobody touched Pacioretty coming into the crease. Khudobin goes to make the save. Pacioretty's skate was there. And even though it was very minimal contact, overturned goaltender interference because he couldn't get across.
Yeah.
And nobody touched Pacioretty. Anybody had touched Pacioretty on the way to that crease, that goal would have counted. Like, and so it's just the same thing in Carter Hart's situation. What AV is thinking to be like, it's close, and my team is like, I don't know, teetering on the edge here of getting eliminated every one of these games. Let me put him on the penalty kill right now.
Right.
After they just had a goal scored on him. And granted, he's very lucky that none of those really bit him, but they were bad timing, to say the least, and it totally swings momentum. When you got a team that just scored a goal, so you say it's even their top line, they just scored a goal, they're tired. okay, well, they got to go rest. We got to get the fourth line out or whatever we got to do. And then you go, oh, wait a minute. Let's have a review.
Yeah.
Let those guys rest up because I'm about to put them on a power play. Like, it's terrible. It's a momentum killer for your team. And I think that's what got the Flyers. The Flyers got to be better. Drew's got to be better. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You know, what was the old saying? Drew's the best center in the league, somebody said years ago. Yeah, he's got to prove it because he wasn't even the 16th best center in this tournament. Like, when it comes down to it. Like, I mean, when Bo Horvat's outplaying you out west.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And not to discredit what Bo Horvat did, but, like, really. The Flyers. And hey, I picked the Flyers. Multiple brackets. I had them to win the cup.
Oh, I think a lot of people did.
So this is all on them. This, you know, they were burning, you know? Kevin Hayes was the only guy that kept going.
Wow.
And trust me, I kept saying Kevin Hayes is going to dry up. He didn't too much.
Yeah.
He could have gotten a few more. He missed a few that I think he's probably ticked at himself. But he played hard. You know, they got to be happy with him. He earned, you know, he appears to have earned that contract for that, at least for that year.
Yeah.
But moving forward, I don't think it's going to be so great.
You know, it's funny, and I'm just trying to do something on here. I'm trying to get our link. Our link seems to keep going down for some reason. I'm not really sure why that's happening. But, yeah, again, if anybody's out there, please chime in and let us know. I'm, yeah, man, it just keeps going down on me. Rawr. Anger. So, yeah.
I mean, I don't think a lot of people expected that to go seven or to go so far. All the overtime's got to add up. I think we saw that in the first game of the conference now for the Islanders.
Oh, how much hockey they've actually played?
The Islanders just got spanked by the Lightning in the first game, 8-2.
Yeah.
And I don't expect that's what we're going to see tonight from the Island. You know, and even I think all their team is just like, yeah, you know. And that's the other thing, you know, they finish up in Toronto. They got to fly out to Edmonton.
Yeah, that's
and
a little
play the next day.
Yeah.
And it's like,
meanwhile, Tampa's been on their resting on their ass for the last
Tampa's
week.
been sitting in the hotel spa for the last 6 days.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is great, you know. So,
but I will say the NHL right now, they're making no bones about getting those games in.
I will say
go.
They are. I don't know what that's about, other than you're respecting these players a tremendous amount because they're away from their families. And although I guess families are allowed in now, some of them
for the last round
for the conference, yeah, something changes there.
Yeah,
they can now bring family or something. I think somebody's dad was there the other night. They might have said, but hey, good on them if they get to. You know, these guys have been without their families now for well over a month, and we saw that affected some of the guys. There's been reports coming out where people are like, you know, this bubble isn't everything it's cracked up to be, especially for the older guys. You know, the guys who have kids and wives. You know, it's not easy. You know, they want to be. Everybody wants to be machismo. Every guy until you're without your girl for a day or two.
Yeah, I'm sure like, Skyping is no substitute.
I mean, if my wife is, you know, she'll go to her mom's or something for a night or something evening. And it could just be like 6-7 hours, and I'll be like, "Is she coming home soon?" You know?
Yeah, try doing it for like a month. You know,
yeah, like you know,
it's a lot.
So it can't be easy.
And your kids, I can't imagine just sitting on Skype and saying, "Oh, hi, baby, I'm gonna be home soon." It's like,
and that might have affected some of those Flyers because they're an older team, generally speaking. So it's possible. But
yeah.
Good on the island, man. I think everybody was really enjoyed that series who watched it. It was a battle, like we thought. It wasn't short as I thought, but hey, good on the Flyers for pushing it.
Hell of a matchup, really, really was. I mean, if you wanted to watch good hockey, that was.
And they hadn't played in the playoffs in quite some time.
Yeah,
I forgot what it was, like the '80s or something, right?
I'm gonna say one thing. Congratulations to Dan Mahoney out there, because Dan is probably one of the only true Islanders fans that I know. You know, that supports that team year round. And you'll see him in the middle of summer. He's wearing his Isles gear. So good for you, man. I happened to see him like the night before the series ended. And, yeah, I was kind of talking. He's like, dude, we got to win this. We got to win this. It's like, Okay, so
Yeah,
so good on him, man. I mean, you know,
and good on the Islands. You know, they got their work cut out for them in Tampa. The other series here, Vancouver and
I know already
Vegas.
you have some issues here.
Okay, first of all, good on Vancouver, right? Plucky kids. Nobody picked them to do anything. I said they were going to beat St. Louis. They did. And, you know, beating Vegas would have been a tall tree to climb.
Sure.
But they almost did it. They came real close. I think, you know, after your goaltender gets you a shutout in Game 6, maybe don't sneak a couple strippers into the bubble and, you know, make him have a late night when he has to go the next day.
Yeah.
That might have been the mistake that actually ultimately did them in. Of course, it cost the team for doing that. They got fined pretty good for that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I don't know what to say about Vancouver other than that. They looked outmatched and yet hung in there. I think the pluses for Vancouver are Bo Horvat he's a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is. Some of the moves he did, not only that round, but the previous round against St. Louis, he was amazing. Quinn Hughes, he's got some room to grow, but he played very well.
Sure.
You know, obviously the mistakes cost him, but I said one day, you know, I was Comet season ticket holder for 5 years, first 5 years, and I said one day after a game that Thatcher Demko stole, I came home, I got on my EA NHL hockey game, and I was talking to my boys, and I said to everybody, Thatcher Demko, you're going to know that name. And there's nobody in the NHL who doesn't right now.
No,
because
of course
he
not.
put on a clinic in those 2 games.
You know, when Markstrom went out, I was like, you're going to see something right now. You're either going to see, like, this is the end, or this kid's going to stand on his head like you've seen in Utica.
Yeah.
And if anything, I think he's proved far and away that he's a number 1 goalie, man. He can be a starter, no doubt about it. He doesn't have to be a backup. So,
no.
I mean,
no. And it's got questions for Vancouver now because
what do you do with
Markstrom's a free
Markstrom?
agent.
Absolutely.
And, you know, he can go on the market, and there's not really much they can do about it if they're not going to give him money. And, frankly, they probably shouldn't.
I was just going to ask you, what would you do if it was you?
I'd offer him something, but I wouldn't. You can't offer him, you know, starting money.
Yeah.
I don't think you can. I think you have to work this. If you're Vancouver management, you are looking for something like Khudobin and Bishop in Dallas, where you got 2 good goaltenders who can just carry the load, and you don't have to worry night to night like which goaltender is going to be good, because they're both good guys.
Right.
You know, even though Bishop isn't necessarily what he used to be, he's still a very competent goaltender.
Sure.
Do I think Demko and Markstrom are better than that duo? I do. But how much money are you going to spend on goalies? You know, it's another thing we've been getting into lately. You know, I read that article. I don't know if you were here for that episode, but about the goaltenders being the high-priced player on the team.
Yeah.
It doesn't really fit the model of a cup winner these days. So I think they should let that go. Tyler Mott was a great surprise, I think, for most Vancouver fans. That kid gave everything.
4 goals in that series?
4 goals in the St. Louis series.
Okay.
I believe it was. But he was great. He was still great.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
his drive, his energy, never quit on anybody. Unfortunately, he got head smacked by Ryan Reeves.
I know you've got some feelings on that.
This is what my problem is with this, okay? If you go back and look at the hit, Ryan Reeves takes like a curve around his own guy to come back around the blind side. In Ryan Reeves' head, he's thinking, well, I came back all the way around so he could see me. Yeah, well, he's got his head down, granted. You shouldn't have your head down.
Right.
But where Mott's coming up, he's got a guy draped over the back of him. There's no way, even if he had his head up, that he would have likely seen Reeves coming from the way Reeves came around. Reeves, he doesn't really leave his feet at the early, but he does leave his feet like on the follow through. And his primary point of contact was the head. Ryan Reeves, a repeat offender, gets the match penalty, gets the gate. They do the review, which they added after last year's fiasco in San Jose with the 5-minute major. They do the review. Review gets upheld. Get the hell out of here, Reeves. And it's like, I cannot, and I put up on Facebook, Ryan Reeves should be thrown out of the NHL for that hit. Like, he's a repeat offender. This is bad. He should be, this is like, to me, half a season by Ryan Reeves. Like, that's how blatantly horrible this looked to me.
Yeah.
And I got the NHL package, so I could go right back and look at it right now. Go right back in that game, you look, could screenshot it and what not have you. I can't tell you the amount of Vegas fans, because that was Game 7. They win. All of a sudden, the trove of Vegas fans like attacking my post. Called it in. Oh, he stayed down on the ice. That kid should have never been allowed back on the ice. I don't know what the NHL concussion protocol is doing to let him go back out there, because there's no way that kid wasn't concussed.
Oh, yeah.
You could see him on the ice. He's like on his knees and trying to focus on lines, and when he's looking at a white part of the ice, so he was definitely not. He definitely had his bell rung. And Ryan Reeves, a repeat offender. I remember Brendan Lemieux got 2 of these games suspended because he kicked the guy's skate out from under him after the play was dead in Colorado in March.
Right. So
granted, he was going to get suspended. They knew, okay, but they came in and the thing, Brendan Lemieux, repeat offender, minimum of 2 games because you're a repeat offender. That wasn't even. It's like the NHL was like, oh, and because it wasn't during play, that was extra dirty. It's like, come on, man, that wasn't anything. If you go back and look at that Lemieux thing, granted, I don't like it.
Yeah. I
think it's classless. And, yeah, the guy got hurt. It's dangerous, to kick a guy's skate like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But, was Lemieux really intending to hurt the guy? No. Lemieux's trying to kick the rookie down or wherever, he's a younger kid, try and make him be like, yeah, welcome to the NHL. Not really professional, Brendan Lemieux. I'll give it to you. I'll give him that he should have got suspended, 2 games in this tournament, though, was a big deal. And meanwhile, Ryan Reeves cold cocks a guy right on the chin. And then that's what I can't take from these Vegas fans, okay? I can't take it from anybody these days. Is you show me something. It's clear as friggin' day. I can see it. There's a video. This happens. No crime about it. And I got people just interpreting it their own way and then arguing with me saying people have the right to their own opinion. Yes, people have the right to their own opinion. People don't have the right to other facts. Okay. And when you can see it, and you can see him purposefully turn and set up this pick that he's about to do, and not anything, even if he had gotten that guy and gotten the puck, there's still 2 defenders back for Vancouver. It wasn't going to be I'm going to pick this guy and I'm going to be off for a breakaway.
Right.
You know what I mean? There wasn't much. There wasn't much to happen other than him injuring this player on this play.
Sure.
And so that's what infuriates me with the Vegas fans. I appreciate that you're supportive of your team. I appreciate your passion. I can't appreciate you not being able to be unbiased.
To acknowledge
that that's a headshot.
Right.
That there's no room in today's game for that. That in my world, and I got people, well, you want to turn it into the ice skates. I enjoy hitting in hockey. Don't get me wrong. But if we're going to allow that back in, then every other team has to go back and get another Bob Probert or Tony Twist or whoever Donald Brashear, whoever your guy is going to be.
Yeah.
We're going to have to go back to that if we're going to allow those types of hits in. Okay. And let me tell you, those guys will knock the block off Ryan Reeves.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because he's a tough guy in today's NHL. He's not a tough guy with the ghost of Derek Bogard staring you down. You know what I mean? Like, so let's be real, you know? And so that's what I have a problem with. But Vegas, you know, and Vegas, they're good. But, man, if they don't get that first goal, they are terrible. And that's why I say to Dallas going forward, score the first goal.
Yeah.
You score that first goal, you could take that team over. And they showed it in the first game of the series. Dallas scores the first goal, just trap you out, Vegas.
Yeah.
How's that run and gun going when we got guys back? Oh, well, all of a sudden you're out of gas, so you can't find scoring. What doesn't look good for Vegas, granted, they put in a bunch yesterday. But before that, before the second period of yesterday, Vegas had only scored 2 legitimate goals because they had a couple empty nets in that last Vancouver game. They had only scored 2 legitimate goals in the last 4 games because they got shut out in the Vancouver game 6, and they got shut out in game 1 of the conference final. They scored 1 goal in game 5. That was a 2-1 or 3-1 with Vancouver winning. And then in the last game, they only had 1. So they only had 2 goals. That's it. They got shut out in 2 games, and they had 1 goal apiece in the other ones, and a couple empty netters that I'm not really counting. But that's not good for Vegas.
No.
Not for a team that's, you know, used to putting up 6, 7, 8, you know, whatever. That I told Vegas fans, they're all like, we're winning the cup because they're already at the conference final. It's like, okay, first of all, don't count your chickens. Second of all, you guys just put on 4 of the worst games you've played all year.
Yeah.
You know, you're lucky you won 1 of those 4 games or you wouldn't even be here. So I don't know about Vegas going forward. I really don't. Leonard's been great. That's their saving grace is Robin Leonard right now, is their goaltending. And, of course, even if he does bad, you still got Fleury back there.
Yeah, we haven't really seen Fleury.
We haven't even seen him yet. Yeah. So, you know, and I'm just waiting for Fleury to do what he did for the Penguins, you know. Leonard goes down with injury, Fleury comes in, just shuts you out
Saves
for 6 games, you know. Like, and so...
Yeah. So I have to apologize. I'm over here trying to get this link to work, and for some reason, man, it just keeps going down on us. I don't understand that. Anyways, but that's where we're at with that right now. You know, and as I'm thinking the other series real quick, the Islanders and Tampa, who do you like in that?
I want Islanders. I'm rooting for the Islanders. Ranger fan here. I'm rooting for the Islanders, right? So, again, they're going to be like Boston and disappoint me. I should root for Tampa. I should. Just to put the jinx on Tampa. But I hate Kevin Shattenkirk so much right now.
After that 8-2
and he's playing good for them. Like, he keeps making plays. They had him on the other night in the post game. It's like, really? You got Victor Hedman and Ryan McDonough. Ryan McDonough made, like, one of the best goals he's ever made ever. Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. Like, sure, glad you finally learned how to hit the net and it's not a mile wide. But, you know.
I don't know. I'm still going to stand by my bracket, which I had Isles and Vegas. So that was my 2. I don't know.
Well, you're still alive.
I'm still alive. I'm still alive. The rest of the bracket was a hot mess.
I mean, my brackets are all dead in the water, except for this Dallas one, which I had them playing Carolina. So that's really kind of dead too. But so that's the only way I figured they could win it.
Well, see, I think you have to nail the entire thing though to get to have a chance at the money. So
listen. Anybody who nails this entire thing every year is the biggest hockey idiot ever.
Yeah, because none of it makes sense.
None of it ever makes sense. Like whoever won it last year who picked the Blues to go all the way, you're crazy. Like. You're not good at this. Like
even those guys' parents didn't pick that.
$1 million, you're not good at this. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah. And like I said, I remember looking at that and thinking, not even guys from St. Louis voted for St. Louis. So
yeah.
So yeah, you know, I'm looking at the time here, and I know we wanted to save a little time for this. And is Z back there? Because I know Z wanted to kind of record some of this.
Z?
Yeah. I see the curtain back there wiggling, and I think it's just our air conditioner moving. But
Yeah.
the thing I wanted to kind of bring up today, and it's kind of a taboo subject around here. I know that when we first originally started doing podcasts back like 4 years ago, one of the first things we said is we got to try to keep things very PC. PC because, for anybody that does this type of thing, you realize very quickly how easy it is to lose fans, how easy it is to sink your own ship. That's the truth. And, so we've kind of danced around a lot of different topics. But one of the things, and I had a post on Facebook last night. I started talking about this, and I got quite the reaction. Is politics in sports right now, and I guess just social issues and different things, different agendas that are being pushed through. And I don't just mean the NHL. I mean it's in everything right now. The NBA, baseball's got it. Football has certainly got it, or I should say, will have it. And it's a weird time because we here at All Pucked Up and My Garage Bar have really noticed something over the last several months, and that's that interest in sports took a dive. Now, I realize that some people will say right off the bat, well, there was no sports going on, idiot. COVID was happening, so of course nobody's watching sports. Very true. But as sports started coming back into the limelight and these games started being played again, one of the big things that I've been hearing people say is, oh, I'm not even tuning in anymore. I'm just not interested. And for, I'm going to speak personally on this. For someone who does podcasting, specifically sports podcasting, to hear that you're not interested in sports anymore, you're tuning out, it's just not part of your vocabulary anymore. There's something kind of alarming about that, and we've watched our numbers here kind of drop, definitely drop. There's no kind of about it. And I've been asking around. I said, so what specifically is turning you off to sports? I've asked this to a lot of people over the last month and a half, and it seems to be an overwhelming response that a lot of that constant push of the different agendas has really turned off people to sports. And I of course, I'm going to bring you into this. I don't mean to dominate the conversation for a couple minutes here, but there is something to be said about sports in general. People use it as an escape. That has traditionally been what sports is. It's an entertainment, and you can kind of turn on the TV and slip away from all of the other things in the world happening and just enjoy a game. And it's almost like going to see a show or a play or a movie or anything like that. How they just said it's a release. That's what it is. And now all of a sudden, I know a lot of people, probably myself included. I'll be very honest, myself included. You can't turn on sports without feeling that you're getting thumped over the head with a lot of the agenda being driven at you. And that has really turned people away. It's really made people go, wow, this isn't fun anymore. It's not fun. I won't lie. Even our show suffers from it because some of the people that are diehard fans, that are people that come on here and talk sports nonstop, have literally told me, I'm just not really paying attention to the games like I was. I just don't care anymore. And it's funny because as we go through all this, I realize, man, nobody's stupid about this. Nobody's looking at it and going, well, the things they're talking about, like Black Lives Matter, the things they're talking like these agenda-driven things, it's not that they don't matter. Don't confuse that one bit. Don't get it mixed up that people are saying, I just don't care about that situation, so I'm going to tune it right out. That's not entirely. That is absolutely not it. There's a lot of very compassionate people out there that really do care about this, but they don't want to see it in everything. I understand that. And obviously, I think you're going to have a differing opinion on that. That's fine. We'll talk about that. But I guess my concern is, at what point do certain entities step out, like the owners of these games? there's a lot of money being lost right now. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of money being lost right now from people who are saying, I'm not going to buy an NFL ticket. I'm not going to watch hockey. I'm not going to look at ESPN for as long as they're talking about this stuff. As long as this becomes the focus of the game, I will not focus on that game. That's what's being said from a lot of people. I don't know. Your thoughts on it?
Sports, to me, has always been intertwined with politics, patriotism, our country. All right, since they've been around.
Yep.
Right, and sports aren't always on the right side of history. I take you to the Negro Leagues of baseball. Right, doesn't look good when you go back and look at it, but the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, they recognize that league. You know, they don't say, it wasn't Major League Baseball, so just let's forget about all that. They have a whole section dedicated to it. You know, you can learn a lot of it down there in Cooperstown going through the hall. And, you know, of course, you know, players that made the jump or made the league, or you talk about Jackie Robinson, who broke the barrier, and you know, over the years in other sports, people who've been politically motivated, think of Muhammad Ali and things of that nature, you know. Some athletes have chosen not to. Just in particular, I just watched the Last Dance. I finally got around to it. The Michael Jordan documentary.
Yep.
Jordan was not. Jordan didn't allow. Now, I've looked into Jordan a little bit more since watching this. Jordan has given tremendous amounts of money to tremendous charities all over the country. Okay, I mean, beyond just the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I mean, there's lists and lists of charities, and you can see millions and millions of dollars. Granted, Jordan's still a very wealthy man.
Yep.
You know, even though he hasn't played in 20 years. But watching that documentary, you know, thinking back to like the, you know, they go over like the Rodney King riots and stuff. He was not very vocal at that time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so it's, and people even questioned him for it at that time. Like, hey, you know, he's just like, man, I'm just trying to play basketball. And yes, these things are bad and they need to be changed. But like, I'm just a ball player, right? So I could get both sides of it. But at the same time, these people are celebrities in this country, and some of them worldwide. And they have platforms, and they want to use their platform to I'm trying to find the right words, to advance a very, what I think is very justifiable platform. Okay, these, you know, you can't be blind to it. We've been dealing with this problem my whole life, before my life, before your life, before his life. And
See, by the way,
it's not, are we going to solve these things overnight? No. Do these players have a right to speak their opinion? Absolutely. It's a free country. They can speak their opinion.
but therein lies the problem.
Here's the thing. You want to say about sports, I'm there for the escape. I don't want to deal with this. Let's go back to 9/11. 9/11, Yankee Stadium. Nobody had a problem when George Bush was coming out to throw out the pitch during the World Series for the playoff games. They were postponed, if you recall, because of 9/11. Everything was pushed. You know what I mean? That postseason was a very healing season for the country. I know, you know, I felt that way, you know, watching the Yankees play, and all the people in New York, their bond and their attitude, and they're like, hey, we don't care what you did to us. We're going to go ahead and play baseball. That's what we think about you terrorists. You know what I mean? Nobody had a problem with that.
I think there's a big difference, though, in what you're saying. You're saying, well, there was a terrorist group that came and knocked down the Twin Towers, and we used baseball and football as a release to unite the country. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, which has been inseparably intertwined with that. You can't say one without hearing the other these days. You just can't.
Well, you can if you're watching Fox News.
There is the problem, my friend, is no matter what happens, it takes it right back to political. I am a conservative. You are a diehard liberal. I know this. People can't differentiate this stuff.
I'm fiscally conservative.
But they can't differentiate this stuff without bringing politics into it. And here is the problem. It's sports. I don't want to debate. I don't want to debate I don't want to debate politics on sports when I'm trying to be able to settle down for the night, relax, watch this. All of a sudden, it's like, boom, we just got political. How in the hell did this become part of sports? And it's like that's when I take a step back and I go, if this is what is going to become of sports, then I don't want anything to do with it. And I know a lot of people like that. Let's make no bones about this. This show particularly, right? I'm going to say this. We've been doing this for 4 years. When we first started doing this show, not even necessarily you, I'm just saying us as a group.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say specifically Bring 'em Down Productions and My Garage Bar, not necessarily Disruption Networks. Let me make that very clear. What do they always say in shows? The comments and whatever views expressed here are solely mine. It has nothing to do with Disruption Network. I want to make that abundantly clear. When we first started doing this, I had what can only be called a shitload of fun doing it. I used to come on here. I used to love talking sports. Mm-hmm. I used to love talking about the players, and it was just a great time. And then all of a sudden, politics started making its way into sports. And all of a sudden, I found myself dancing around a lot of different things. You can't really address this. You can't really talk about that. Yeah, this player's having problems. You don't want to do that. And all of a sudden, a lot of the fun was taken out of this, and it started to become work. It started to become actual freaking work. And, the problem is when things become work, especially when you're not compensated for them, which we do this,
Right.
This isn't like nobody thinks podcasting, you're making a ton of money. None of us are. That's fact.
Except for Joe Rogan.
Okay, yeah. Okay, there's one person making it. But, I mean, nobody on a local level is really killing it. We're all just scraping to get by. And when you see things like that, and you're like, man, I'm about to go and I'm going to prep for the show. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I can't talk about this. If I say the wrong thing, my God, somebody might take it the wrong way and all of a sudden call me out, and now I'm a bad guy. There's a lot of different things that all of a sudden you can say the wrong thing and not mean it at all, and you're completely freaking ruined. You're sunk. A.K.A. Mike Milbury, who I know you're going to say, well, he's a bit, but you know what? What was his comment that got him kicked off the air? That women are a distraction. Is that a punishable offense to kick him off the air for the season?
From what I gather in the Milbury situation,
yeah,
it was several things, and that was like the straw.
He
got a ton of flack, and I think completely justified. Mm-hmm. Talking about a hockey-related topic during that 5-game overtime with Columbus and Tampa Bay, where he had the idiocracy to suggest that they don't let this happen anymore and they make some type of time limit where they eventually go to a 3-on-3 and then a shootout in the playoffs. Are you crazy, Milbury?
Oh, listen,
talk about tradition in hockey and what people love the most about hockey. We all love the overtimes in the playoffs. It tracks higher than anything in hockey. Everything that any hockey fan loves is the playoffs and overtime. There's nothing like it in the world. And that's what's great. Milbury, the answer to what they should do about this is score a freaking goal. Okay, you got 5 extra periods, and you got 2 teams out there doing ice capades.
Listen, I get all that.
He got a ton of flack for that. Tons.
He may get a ton of flack for it, but we're going back to hockey.
Right?
Dude. You're going back to hockey on that. You're not addressing the real problem, which is the political aspect of it, or even the political correctness of it.
No. But you take that, right? Mm-hmm. He had some other comments. I can't remember all the examples. But in the past, he's made other stupid comments, like just
Then
dumb
why the hell did you
things.
put him in there in the first place?
That's a good question.
Because honestly,
Trust me, NBC could be doing a lot better with who they have talking.
I mean, these guys are
think-
former hockey players. They're not like linguists. So that's the fact. I mean, these aren't like brains that they're putting in there. They knew the game. They knew the game well. They put him in there. They give him a microphone, and I hope he's going to do great.
I heard the comment live. Mm-hmm. It didn't faze me much. His comment didn't faze me. What fazed me was the other commentators' reactions. They kind of tried to like step on top of him as he was getting it out because they could tell like that's not going to fly so great. And I'm not big on this whole what you're calling cancel culture. People make mistakes. People say stupid things. People do stupid things.
Right.
Okay? I get that. Now, Milbury has not been fired.
No, he's been suspended.
He's been suspended. This isn't a Jeremy Roenick situation.
Right.
Okay? Now, I think there's a difference between what Milbury did and what Roenick did. Roenick's was completely like Gonzville, right? It was sexist. It was racist. It was misogynistic. It was like it too many ists, right? Too many to let him still work there. And granted, I think Jeremy Roenick's a bit of a blockhead, so I'm not really in his corner to begin with. But I don't know that those things are not the same as this movement. You got to also understand is these leagues are made up by these guys. Mm-hmm. Now, hockey is different, right? Because there's not that many people of color in hockey to begin with. That I was looking into more when I knew you were on to talk about this today. That there's been some studies done about this. This article I read was from 2015, so it was a little older from today's date. But I guess these two studies out of Florida talked about one, why African Americans have a tendency to be faster runners. Mm-hmm. Because even we watched the Willie O'Ree documentary on Amazon a few weeks ago, and he was talking about racism in the game and stuff, and even guys today who are in the game, not necessarily people of color, but just people in power in the game, would still say or hear oh yeah, well they have different ankles and they can't play hockey or something like ridiculous, some old myth, right? Which I also remember hearing growing up, asking my dad why are there no black people in hockey? They have different ankles, they have different bones or something like that, which is of course ridiculous. The only difference is African Americans have a tendency to have a denser bones, which would improve their ability. They get hurt less. So, but this article also found that people that African Americans, 77% of them have different body type of a higher center of gravity, which is what helps them be these faster runners because of where their point of balance is. Well, that higher center of gravity would also contradict playing hockey because you want a lower center of gravity in hockey, right? So you take that's a tiny thing, though, right? So you take that little tiny thing, you add into the fact that they also studied why, okay, so forget about players for a minute. Why aren't a lot of the spectators? If you go to a hockey game, there's not a lot of people of color at a hockey game. Why is that? And they just found through this study, the separate study from the same college, I believe it was out of Florida, that said they have African Americans have a tendency to watch what their culture is. So since their culture is more basketball and football and baseball, and because people grow up playing those things, they have a tendency to watch when they're older. Wow. Reasons why they play those things and not hockey is because you just need a basketball to play basketball.
That's it right there.
You just need a football to play football.
And accessibility.
And baseball, you just need a ball and a stick, right? Yeah. Basically. Hockey has limitless amounts of equipment. I mean,
it's a very expensive
You could go find equipment
sport
that people don't even wear that would be labeled hockey equipment,
sure.
right? So there's that end of it, which is not a race thing. It's a socioeconomic thing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Listen, I don't find it to be racist at all to say that hockey is a very expensive sport. And it's been well documented that a lot of inner city kids can't afford to play it.
Right.
And they don't have access to a freaking ice rink at the drop of a hat.
And granted, some teams do a great job pushing that.
Yeah.
I know the Rangers put a lot of money. They have a whole hockey in Harlem program now. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. They part of their Garden. I think it's Garden of Dreams helps give to that and whatnot.
Sure.
Or they might have a separate even function for that specific thing in hockey in Harlem. But I know they promo it a lot of times. It looks awesome. Now here's the other thing to go with that. Go back to the high center of gravity. So even if you have a kid that has the the socioeconomic needs met of getting hockey or gets equipment, however you see, has the person in his life that can take him to a rink. That's the other thing you don't think about hockey. You can't just go to the playground and play hockey.
No.
You got to find a rink. There's not rinks like all across America.
Oh, that's why I said it's
this
accessibility.
Isn't Canada.
Yeah.
There's not a rink every few blocks. So that's an issue. And then on top of that, it's like, okay, now somebody's got to take you to the rink. A lot of these things, hockey tournaments, just like any other sport growing up, you need parents, you need, relatives help you get to games, get to hear, My wife will talk about her soccer growing up in high school, and it's like, every Friday we had to go there for a tournament or this or there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that play into it. And then on top of that, you might get somebody who has all those things, and then by the time they're getting to like the age where they might go pro, find out that maybe they're not as good because they have a higher center of gravity, and some low kid took them out when the scout's there, and they're not that good. You know what I mean?
I
so
think
there's lots of things that play into it.
Yeah, of course. It's very simply put.
It's not. I just don't think that people, especially in this latest thing that happened with the games got canceled and players walked off and all this stuff, and people are like, "Well, hockey played that night." Well, hockey was in the middle of playing that night. What are they going to do? Cancel the last game when they played the other three? You know what I mean? Like. And granted, they canceled the next 2 nights, but a lot of hockey got a lot of flack, especially online. Like, hockey's just like following along, getting on the bandwagon, all this stuff, because it's all white. I just wanted to go into a little bit like why it's white. Do I like it white? No, absolutely not. I really would love to see more color on the ice. It's fine with me, and hopefully, as far as my perspective goes, from Rangers' perspective. We got another player coming next year, Keandre Miller. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, I can't even mention Keandre Miller without mentioning that just in March of this year, he was on a chat with the Rangers, and people were throwing in racist stuff over the bubbles and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like... you talk about not saying anything because you don't want to offend people.
Yes.
There's just the opposite out there, too. There's the people that want to offend everybody.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
How does this end?
How does this end in sports, or how
does this end in sports? A. How does it end in general? B. There's not like a magical line that you're going to cross and have everybody go, great, we're all equal now. Lovely. Yes, we can stop. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen.
I think nobody wants the movement of Black Lives Matter to end more than that organization themselves.
I don't believe that at all.
I think that they would love to see Black Lives Matter and get treated equally just as everybody else and not have to say it anymore.
Listen.
I really think, I truly believe that. I don't think, and I was watching Hard Knocks on HBO, and they had a good episode about this topic, and they asked one of the coaches I believe the coach of the Rams asked one of his assistant coaches, like, what do you think about when you see this guy, cop's got a hand on his shirt and drops 7 bullets into the guy's back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's atrocious. Like, I don't see any way about it. To think that, granted, would I run from the police? No. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I'm not trying to put my head into the mind of this guy who got shot at all. I'm just saying that police, a necessary lethal force, I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But at the same time, I know that when I see that video, I find it disgusting and appalling.
See, but this herein is the problem, man. So right now, just like you saying that whole situation. Well, I was going to say that, like, that whole situation which has arose, and now it's Black Lives Matter is constantly still being promoted in all these leagues. And as much as some people are trying to escape from hearing about all these world topics, and I get it. I freaking get it, man. You can't just turn a blind eye to it. I understand that. But
why is it in my sports?
Why is it in my sports? Why when I sit down and I've got my complete fill of news this out in the street? I mean, you can't go anywhere today without hearing about this. There's signs everywhere. There's protests in the streets. Let me have one thing where I don't have to hear about this just for an hour. And then I sit down and Black Lives Matter is plastered all over on the signs on there. And you're being forced to remember it again. I can completely sympathize with the cause, completely. But let me put it this way. If I had some type of an organization that I was supporting and, you didn't want to hear about it, and I showed up and started talking about it in the middle of your workday, you'd probably tell me to shut the hell up. After a while, you'd probably say, I've heard enough about it, man. Please, give it a rest. That's just how people are. That you hit a certain point, you hit a threshold where people go, can you please just stop? I mean, it works that way.
Do you think every October 30th or whatever, or every November in the NFL for the last number of years, people are going, thank God Breast Cancer Awareness Month is over. I'm sick of seeing pink gloves and pink shoes
do think so.
and pink towels.
Yes.
And I'm sick of them shoving breast cancer down my throat and all this stuff.
But you're also talking about something that's not as inflammatory as Black Lives Matter. Like I said, as long as you are going to tie Black Lives Matter to Antifa, to rioting, to all these different things, which it may not have started out that way, but it has kind of been lumped together with that. It just has.
It has on Fox News.
And see,
I'll go back to
I don't think it's just on Fox News.
They're not linked in my head. So why is that? I don't watch Fox News.
I don't know.
They're not. Antifa, that doesn't even enter my brain, Antifa. It's a made-up thing to me.
I mean, I would say that if I walked out into the street and I said rioting, destroying some of these things, protesting,
don't agree with that. I think a lot of people don't agree with that. I think a lot of people in Black Lives Matter don't agree with that.
I don't know how you can not. Because half the riots you see on TV and on the internet and everything else, it's not just Fox News. You see it, and they're holding up Black Lives Matter signs. That's just how it is. Whether they're true Black Lives Matter protesters or what, they've just been linked to it. It's undeniable. If you're saying you don't see it, you're walking through life like this, my friend. And I'm going to tell you that. Because the truth is, when you walk outside and you see 3 nights ago, in Rochester, New York, right down the road, there was a huge riot. Yeah. They literally walked into restaurants, were picking up chairs, tables, turning them over, throwing people's meals on the floor, and telling them to get the hell out. Wow. Don't even know who the hell they're going after. Just people that they walked in and found them dining. Those people could have completely been on their side. They could have been completely in favor of Black Lives Matter. So why the hell are you going in there, throwing their shit on the ground and breaking windows? That's supposed to support your cause? That's what people see. And as they're riding, they're yelling, Black Lives Matter.
But see, now you're taking it out of sports context.
No, I'm telling you that what ends up happening is sports is dragging that right into it. You can't help but remember this stuff when you go and you sit down, you go to watch a game, and there it says on the billboard, Black Lives Matter. Oh, wait, I saw Black Lives Matter earlier today. They're the same movement that I saw people trashing the freaking restaurant and throwing shit on the ground and telling people they better leave and raising their fist and saying, you need to hold your fist up and support us. That's what I'm seeing. That's what most people have to see. So to say I'm going to take my sport and interject that into it, whether you want to say, well, it's a peaceful movement, I believe it truly started out as that. I truly do. But because that element has been pushed into the game, I can't help but turn away from it. We started talking about this before. So right now, as you know, Colin Kaepernick, he now appears on Madden 21. My question to you earlier, and we talked a little bit about this, so I'm going to back up so people understand where I'm coming from on this. He hasn't made a playable character appearance, to the best of my knowledge, since 2016 when he was last in the game. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, he's back in there. Why did you put him in there? I mean, that seems to me to be a great deal of pandering. The word of the day is absolutely pandering. When he left, I looked this up. He was a ranked 74.
74
in
now
2016. He's ranked 81. Mm-hmm. To give you a perspective on where a 74 falls, he fell in line with Geno Smith, Mark Sanchez, and, I mean, just some of the other names that were kind of on the downside those days. Right. So now, all of a sudden, they've brought him back. He's on this game. He's, out of 111 quarterbacks playable on that game, he's in the top 15. And when he scores a touchdown, he puts the arm up and gives the Black Panther salute. Why the hell did they feel the need to put that in the game? I don't know. I don't know. I can completely respect his message, but if you didn't want this to be a controversial subject, why did you put that in there? You knew it was going to come back on you. I don't know.
EA is a whole nother ball of wax. Okay, I play EA games constantly, especially the hockey. Before the hockey game, when all this stuff started coming out, the hockey game added a thing to NHL 20. When it comes up, it says EA is aware of the issues of systematic racism. It recognizes that Black Lives Matter, and they're going to do everything to stomp out racism.
Why is that
on the
on
game? There? Okay. Online video games are full of racism.
Okay, but why did it take till now for them to put that on there? And if there's so many problems in the world, like cancer, why not put cancer awareness on there? Why not put different things on it? How come it has taken all of a sudden this movement to push different groups into suddenly recognizing this, and now it's like nonstop, you're going to get it. You are going to recognize what we're supporting here, and if you don't like it, too goddamn bad. That's my question. And that's a lot of people's question right now.
Well, let me toss you a little thought I have on this whole thing. Mm-hmm. I put this online. It's free to see. Some years ago, I worked for a photographer here in Utica, and sometimes I do extra work outside my quote-unquote hours of the week, right? Mm-hmm. And he just tossed me something extra. Chris, great job. Here's an extra $50 this week. And just give me $50 cash. And I was like, great, thank you so much. Or if I needed like an advance, whatever the case was. This 1 week he owed me for doing an extra hard job of something he needed done. He was like, here, take an extra $50. And I was like, oh, thanks, I could use it. I went right to the gas station to get gas. Mm-hmm. I go to pay. Girl uses the bill checker marker thing that makes a mark.
The little yellow Sharpie.
Yeah. And it made a mark on my bill, which it's not supposed to. If it's real money, it's clear. If it's not real money, it makes a black mark. And they go, this isn't a real $50 bill. I go, what are you talking about? And she pulls another bill out of the drawer. And she goes, see, this is real, no mark. Your bill, mark. She goes, this isn't real money. I was like, well, give it back to me. I'm going right back to my boss. I'm going to get to the bottom of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Went back to my boss, said, hey, this is, I showed him the mark. I'm like, this is a fake 50. And I was like, what are you doing to me? You're going to get me arrested, going to get me in trouble. He's like, oh, sorry about that. Gave me another 50. He goes, I know exactly who I got this 50 from, too. He called the Secret Service. He called an in. Secret Service came to our studio here in Utica, New York, to figure out, to ask questions, ask me questions, ask everybody questions. You know what didn't happen? I didn't have the police call to me on fast track, and I didn't have an officer choke me out till I died. Now, that didn't happen to me because why? Because I'm white? Because of the color of my skin? I had no idea that never even entered my mind.
Okay.
Okay? At that time, it never even entered my mind that I might get arrested right now for trying to pass a fake bill.
Okay.
Which I could have been arrested for. But did I have any clue to it? No, I had no clue at all. Well, money is basically only valued because we all agree it is, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, in this country anyway, it's not backed by gold or anything. It's just because it's a note. We all agree that note is worth that much. That's it. So in my head, I was just like, you know what? Why couldn't they just take the 50? Like, who cares? Like, it's 50. If you agree it's 50, now it's worth 50. That's it. Like, then now it's in circulation. You know what I mean? But I didn't, none of that other terrible stuff happened to me. Right. And, my nephews didn't lose their uncle because he tried to pass a $50 bill that day.
I understand where you're going with this.
I mean?
And if you're trying to build the sympathy for Black Lives Matter, I get it, Chris. I freaking get it.
I'm just saying that you're saying what's the difference? That's the difference because people are losing lives. So I was watching this on Hard Knocks, right? Mm-hmm. And the coach of the Rams, what's his name? White guy, short white guy.
Yeah, but
you know what I'm talking.
Yeah,
I can't think of his name. He says to another coach who's African American, like, "What do you think about when you see this? Mm-hmm. When you see this guy shot in the back?" He goes, "You know what?" Coach goes, "To tell you the truth." He goes, "I don't even think about that guy as much as I think about how much this has been going on when everybody didn't have a phone or a camera. How many of these just got pushed under the rug as somebody resisting arrest or something else?" And you know what? When he brings that up, and the other coach agrees, he's like, "Yeah, man, because I can't even think about that. Because thinking about that is tragic." It's tragic.
Nobody's denying that.
Okay.
Nobody's fighting you on the part.
And the likelihood of that happening, people are denying it, though, man.
Denying what?
Lots of people deny it. All the All Lives Matter people are denying it.
No,
because
I don't think they're denying.
That's everybody's, man. No, it's not the same thing. That's the thing, okay? And we're not going to get to the bottom of it here.
No, of course we're not.
And granted, like I said, I truly believe that they themselves would love to have the movement end. When that happens, like you said, I don't know what the goalpost is. I really don't.
Let me tell you a weird story.
At the same time, sports is recreation. Mm-hmm. It's entertainment for us. For those people, it's their job, right? Like I said before, they have their platform. If the league and everybody else is going to allow them to use it, because they're in a private workplace, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody's private workplace has their own rules. The league, if they want to allow them to, if the NFL's now on board, like, more power to the league. If people don't want to watch, that's not on me. I'm not going to get to the bottom of that. I think people are doing themselves a disservice by not watching, personally, because I think that especially like in this hockey tournament, the hockey has never been better. These 4 teams that are left are awesome. Any one of them could win the cup. Yeah. It's going to be a great battle no matter what, no matter who you put in here. And granted, none of these teams are regular contenders for a cup. Mm-hmm. Islanders haven't won one since, 84? The Lightning since 05. Vegas never. And Dallas since the 90s. So let
me just tell you a weird story, and I guess we'll end with this because we're already over. But let me point out something I said, I believe, 2 years ago on one of my shows. At the time, I want to say it was Aaron Rodgers had just signed an enormous contract, which I'm going to make up numbers. I know but I think it was like $40 $5 million, $45 million. And then with like bonuses, it had the potential of reaching like $90 million. It was something you'd spend a lifetime trying to spend this money.
Right.
You really would. And I said, you know, it's a shame that in the grand scheme of things, somebody who's making that much money doesn't see, like for a while I lived out in Los Angeles. You probably know that. And I remember going by Skid Row. Not the band, obviously Skid Row, the section of Los Angeles where people are living in tents and boxes and eating out of garbage cans and doing whatever the hell they can to survive.
Much bigger section these days, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure it's enormous. And I thought, wow, how many people could somebody like Aaron Rodgers house with that enormous contract that he bought? Think of the average cost of a home in Utica, New York, which I'm going to say is like maybe $60,000 to $80,000.
80.
60 to 80. How many houses could you buy with $90 million?
You could buy the whole city.
You could buy the whole city. Can you imagine if somebody like Aaron Rodgers went and did something like that? I guess my point is, you know, if you are really, really hell-bent about being the change in this country, there are some really, really better ways that you can do it besides just, you know, going on air and saying, like, raising your fist.
I agree.
I mean, because, shit, man, I'm of the mindset of, like, don't talk about the change, be the change. I've always said that.
That's great. That's wonderful. But I just saw a report last night on ABC News on YouTube of a man in Portland, African-American man, dressed very nicely, button-down shirt and a bow tie, which kind of made him stand out in the crowd. And I'm sure he did this on purpose because he was a very well-spoken and articulate guy. And the press spotted him and came to, and he's in the midst of like all these people acting like kind of crazy, right? It was kind of wasn't a riotous scene, but you could tell there was a lot of charged energy, not knowing which way to go, right? And this guy's there just talking facts, like, you know, what? And this press guy asked him, ABC, you know, what do you want? What do you want to see? He goes, what I want to see is people to just march and protest peacefully. He goes, I want them to understand that this is something that the best way to fight this is for people of our color, of our city, to get involved, to become members of the police force, to become
I would love to see that.
members of the council, to get involved. That's what needs to change.
I agree, 100%.
Now, locally, we had just the opposite happen recently, because the Utica voters had voted for our police force to have to live in our city. And the Common Council went and basically unilaterally got rid of that requirement. Now it's only a 5-year requirement that you live in Utica, which 5 years goes by like that, right? And then you get to live outside the city. It's a referendum the voters of Utica voted on. It wasn't a council decision. It never went back to the voters. So this stuff happens, and they're saying, well, we can't find good enough people. And I say, there's plenty of people in Utica, I'm sure living right on this very street here, that would love to be a UPD officer, but maybe some, you know, teenage conviction for, you know, a dime bag is keeping them back or something like that. Like, can't we do something to help the people who live in this community police this community?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say this too.
Let's throw it out.
I'm going to say this too. If I had a choice of any profession to be in this world right now, probably police officer would be one of the bottom. And I only mean that because it is extremely goddamn dangerous to be a cop these days. You know this. I know this.
I think it's always been dangerous.
It's always been dangerous. But I mean, you know, you look at some of the things happening right now. I mean, any video you watch, you see people getting pelted with bricks and everything else. Like, what is going on here? I think here's the problem with a lot of what happened during COVID. I think that people have stepped away from this because they've learned to realize something. I don't need these goddamn celebrities in my life. There's somebody on TV that's making $90 million for throwing a goddamn football back and forth, and there's a cop who's making like $30,000 a year for potentially getting smacked in the back of the head with a brick. There's something drastically wrong in this world right now.
We've had that conversation many times.
Absolutely. There's something drastically wrong in this world right now. Believe me, I worked in Hollywood for quite a while. I work with all its celebrities. There's something very goddamn wrong with thinking that a movie star can make a $50 million contract and sit in a trailer and bitch about not getting something like 2% chocolate milk. And he won't come out of his trailer until he gets it. But you have guys in the military who are, going over there and making, $700 a week? There's something drastically wrong in this country. It needs a complete overhaul. And I think
maybe that's what you're saying when people don't want to watch sports anymore.
That's what I'm saying. I think this could be the start of a much bigger underlying problem here.
And listen, if everybody stopped watching and people stopped going, these players' revenues and salary caps and everything would have to come down.
Yeah.
Just like we see with hockey, they're going to be flat for the next couple of years automatically, right?
Yeah.
And they're the lowest sport, right? We're not
out of all the
major
four
major
sports,
ones. Yeah, they're the lowest money-wise.
Yeah.
And so that may happen. If that happens, it happens. Is it going to affect me at all? No. Is it going to affect the play on the ice? Not really. Not likely. People are still going to want to be hockey players.
Yeah.
If people can make a regular living being a hockey player, they're going to do it.
I would have done
it. If they got the talent, you know what I mean? Like, why would you not want to play a game to make a living over working for real, right? Not to say that being one of these professional athletes doesn't work. I'm sure it's a ton of work.
Oh, I'm sure
it
is.
I mean?
You have to put in constant hours.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's not the way it used to be where you just,
show up with a beer and a smoke and hit the field.
Baseball in the 50s where you're going to work on the farm for the other 3 months or 6 months or whatever. So, these things are people's priorities. And right now, this is a pretty big priority. I think it's justifiably so. And if people are upset about it, then don't watch. It doesn't. It's not going to bother me at all.
Well, the whole point about it is it shouldn't bother you in that aspect. The main question we started out by asking was like, where did the dip in our numbers? Because going back to the original thing, we said, wow, shows like this, they do tend to be a little bit of work.
I think it's all of it's a lot of what we're saying. It's people have different priorities right now. COVID is still real. It's still out there. It's still attacking. I mean, we've been fortunate for where we are. But if you look at the country, a lot of it's still dealing with this in a very major way.
Yep.
And we're going to be continuing to deal with it. There's not a lot of plan going forward. So it's difficult. And we didn't have sports for a while. Now they're back. They're not the same. Okay, so that right away is going to get people turned off. People don't like these cardboard cutouts. People don't like the canned noise, crowd noise, It doesn't bother me personally, but I know it does bother people.
Well, it's a little weird.
Cutouts
it's a little
hilarious. Awkward. They're hilarious to me. But you know what I mean? Like, this is the path they chose to go. So that's going to turn people off to watching sports.
Yeah.
Plus all these other things. People want to go back to the way things were, and they don't want to hear that we might never get there.
People want to go back to the way things were, but yet they don't like the way things were.
I mean sports-wise.
I know. I'm just saying. It's you know
what I mean? People want to see a stadium and the crowd roar, the crowd, the playoffs, and the towels, and all this stuff. You know what I mean? And I think that's more than this movement. I think that's what really turned a lot of people off. Is people were like, "Oh, great! I can't wait to watch another baseball game, or I can't wait to watch a basketball or hockey." And then they tuned in and they were like, "It's not the same." Click. You know what I mean? And this isn't 1987.
Yeah.
There's lots of stuff for our eyes now. I was listening to another Joe Rogan podcast with Rob Lowe. And Rob Lowe said in 1976 he had a TV show. I think it was 76, 78. He had a TV show. It was ranked 74 out of 74 shows on TV. It was either 66 or 70. I might not have the number right. Basically, they were the last show on TV. And there were less than 80 shows on all of TV. This is all of the channels, all the networks. That's how many shows were Rob Lowe's show was ranked last. And at ranked last, he had 19 million viewers or something like that. Something by today's standards would be a hit show.
Yeah. Well,
Because there's so few people watching TV now in general. Because you have the internet, you got video games. You know, maybe you want to use Kaepernick in the new Madden game. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's great. I mean, if you just like documentaries, it's a great time for documentary films. There's so many good docs out there right now. It's like I can't even keep up with them. Like, let alone a movie that's just a fun movie. You know what I mean? Or a TV show.
Yeah.
Or binge watching, where you just get sucked into something. I just rewatched a HBO series that played in previous for a weekend. You know what I mean? And the next thing you know, I'm like, oh, it's Monday. Well, I just watched 3 seasons of that show. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's Monday.
Yeah, pretty much. You know,
Where'd my weekend go? It's Monday.
Yeah. I mean, you know, so that these things happen, and people aren't really on the whole. I got to tune in at a certain time.
Don't I know?
Watch this. You know what I mean? People aren't on that train. People want to do things when they want to do them.
Of course. It's a weird world we live in now. Listen, we're not going to obviously resolve the world's problems in one sitting here, but I do want to thank you, man. I mean, obviously, you and I have different opinions, but I always thought you and I can sit down and talk.
I always said we should have an actual politics show, me and you.
Yeah.
I think it would be good, but
Yeah.
that's not really for all pucked up. For all pucked up, all we're going to say is, you know, I hope that this is the last time I have to see one of these videos.
Yeah.
That's what I hope.
Are we ready to start?
I don't care what color the person is.
Are we ready to start all politicked up?
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, because there's other things. If anybody's out there and they're saying, oh, he didn't really touch on this, or you didn't talk about the president or whatever, because that's a much longer show and a much longer discussion, and it's not going to...
It's not a hockey show
It's
either.
not a hockey... We're trying to keep it onto sports.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, ask anybody who does one of these shows,
you know,
what the number one thing, if they want to retain fans, to not talk about is politics.
You know, and I saw your post, by the way, about this on Facebook, and I thought a lot of people made good points. People were just like, hey, don't have the time, got bigger problems, got other things to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those were the major points most people made. A lot of the people weren't like, I don't want to see this in sports and I hate these. A couple people did.
I also suspect there's a lot of people who, I mean, we've all heard of the silent majority. That's, you know.
I guess so, too. I guess there might be some of that, but, like,
Yeah.
I generally feel that listen, it's not like people were planning on watching a hockey in August or basketball in August
Well,
either.
this is all gravy.
You know what I mean?
But, yeah.
So, like, it's not even in their mind frame.
Yeah.
You know, it's Labor Day weekend. You're going to watch the basketball game? You know, like, that doesn't register in people.
Yeah.
So I can't help that ratings are low or whatever.
Hey, Gus chimed in. All right, man. Gus said people need bars for sports. Yes.
That's true, too.
Yes.
You know, a lot of people
Yes.
watch in bars.
Yes.
You know, which is more fun to watch when it's a social thing.
That is very
And
true.
it's not a social thing anymore.
No, it's
You know
not.
what I mean? And that's for people's own safety. So it's not like I can, you know, I'm not going over to Gus, you know when I miss these playoffs? Not going to the garage bar. I mean, we had great times watching hockey at the garage bar, you know?
I
The
know.
Pittsburgh, me and Gus watched Flyers Rangers there.
Oh, I
You know
know.
what I mean?
I know.
We're
You guys-
screaming about icing on the last 2 seconds,
You
screaming
guys
in
have-
each other's faces.
You guys have planted more crazy stuff in my garage than I care to mention. Listen, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
We're way over today. Thanks for anybody who took the time to watch this. And sorry if you just wanted a hockey show. I guess you got a little bit more. You got the little extra on it. You got the bonus plan.
And hey, there's a lot of good hockey coming.
Yeah.
I'm on Team Stars and
Yes.
Team Islanders.
Yep.
Let's go.
Of course, I want to thank Z and Todd for allowing us to do this show and for allowing us to even have this conversation today. Because, like I said, I know how all of a sudden controversial it can be, and the last thing they want to get is people thinking that was them. So it's all us. It's all me. It's all Mazzotti. There you go. Anyways, we'll be back, I guess, next week talking a little more hockey, talking only hockey, and we'll catch up with you then. So for Chris and for me, I will check you out later. Enjoy the games. Make sure you catch them.
Stay safe.